Hello everyone, just Goran here and welcome back to another episode of Building the Beekse Bergen Season 2. And today we are wrapping up the project for this year. It is the final episode of the year and I set a goal for myself of what I wanted to achieve this year. And then I promptly adjusted that goal. I was gonna finish the zoo this year, but that clearly wasn't gonna happen. So I adjusted my goal to say I'm gonna finish everything except for the new Elephant Valley this year. And did I make that goal? I think I did. So today we are going to look at all of the final things that I've done to wrap up the project for the year and then talk about next year. So we are starting off over here where we have the resort, the Safari Resort. Now, did I make the entire Safari Resort? No, I did not. I can already tell you that. But I did make everything that I wanted to include for the resort as a backdrop. Basically, I've shifted my focus for this project to be the walking route. I want the walking route to be there because that's the main experience you as a Planet Zoo player are gonna have anyway. Probably you're gonna go into explore mode and walk around the zoo. So I wanted to make sure that everything you can see from the walking route is as accurate as I can make it. While also keeping in mind the fact that we've been having loading issues. The performance of the zoo is completely down the drain. I can't even have animals really, unless I only put in a few just for some cinematic shots. So I need to stop. I need to stop. So that's why I chose just the backdrop focus. And honestly, I can't get rid of so much of this, but it's there, so whatever. But I'd already made the houses, right? So now I've just done some touch-ups around the place, like adding in this little barrier, not even all the way around, just kind of where you can see it. I touched up these little tree areas, bumped up the terrain a bit, added some extra plants. I touched up the stalls over here to make that just a little bit more detailed and accurate. Also with the windows and stuff, so when you're looking at it from above, it looks all nice. Rocks in front, the holding areas, just in minimal detail, just so that it looks good from a distance, basically. Added in a bunch of trees in places that trees should be. I created the little tree house bungalows as well, just in minimal detail with as minimal pieces as possible. So they're not 100% accurate, but they're simple and they look nice from a distance, especially at night when the windows and stuff light up. It really gives the vibe across that we like to see. These are super cool bungalows, by the way. One day I want to rent them, but they're expensive and always booked because there's only 2 of them. So, but yeah, you would get really cool views of the giraffes and the seals behind you. But yeah, then the bridge over here is in, and that will lead you to the turnstiles of the resort. So that's the connection point between the resort and the zoo. And yeah, you can tell very little detail here. I don't really intend for people to walk this way, but it is there. So this is the access from the resort to the zoo over here across this here bridge, which is also here. And that leads us to the next thing I did for this episode, which is I made a few more signs, just the ones that you could theoretically see from the walking route. So just the car safari signs. I did not make the ones for like the deer and the stuff across the pond. No, there's really no need for that. But these ones over here I did make, as you can see. But what I did do is I made them very low detail. So if we get close to them, you can see they're nowhere nearly as detailed as the signs I made for the walking route. Yeah, they have way less pieces and look a lot worse, but it doesn't matter because you're looking at them from way back here, so it's fine. Same goes for the other signs, which are all the way back here in the Congo parking lot. I also added these few over here. This one I've made, and you can see they're a lot less detailed. If you've seen the sign stop motion video, you know that the African forest buffalo has the most pieces of all signs that I made. And yeah, I've now trimmed it down quite a bit, and it still looks pretty decent. But yeah, that's just the way it is. And this one was actually really funny. I just made this one out of other pieces of signs. Like if we go, I think the sign's over here. yeah, I just took this little guy from this sign and I stuck him onto this sign over here at the parking lot. I inverted the colors of the red thing, and that's how that sign came to be. So that was pretty funny. It was really easy to make that way. But yeah, while we're at the forest buffalo enclosure, I also did something in there, namely the backstage of it is now semi-finished. Like, this is, I just had a bunch of temporary wall pieces here just as a placeholder, and I almost intended to just keep it that way because you couldn't really see it from anywhere anyway. But I figured, I mean, I'm doing touch-ups anyway, let's touch this up as well. So I created this little backstage, and I created this little backstage. Actually, this one I just copy-pasted from somewhere else in the zoo. But yeah, this is the backstage of the African forest buffalo. This, I think, is the backstage of the Gordon gazelle of the desert habitat. And then, yeah, there's a little hay shelter, and this stuff was already here. This is the backstage of the okapi. So yeah, just some touch-ups, just cleaning up old things that no one's gonna ever see except you guys, because you saw the video. But yeah, it's there, it's fine. Similarly, keeping in mind that you're only gonna see it from the walking route very far in the distance, I did finish up the African wild dogs enclosure in the back there behind the black rhino exhibit, and of course you can see it through the window of the viewing area of the actual African wild dogs enclosure. But all that I really did here is just add a whole bunch of trees, because that's all you need. Like, this looks fine. Even, I guess I can add a little bit more grass in the back, because you can see very clearly where the grass abruptly ends. I'll probably do that right after this, after I record this. But yeah, other than that stuff, really, there isn't that much to see. You can very briefly catch a glimpse of the education sign for the car safari over here, but that is really all you're ever gonna see of that enclosure. So literally all I did is just add a couple of details and a bunch of trees, and yeah, I guess I'll add some more like buffalo grass around this area later, but that's all there is to that. And then the last thing that I did for this episode is the camel field over here. I noticed that the past couple of years it has slowly turned a lot more lush and grassy, and I wanted to incorporate it. I also mentioned in the last episode that for the Bird of Prey show there's now a couple of beams over there that they can fly birds to, so I added those as well. And yeah, I was really fighting, like, I didn't want to go too all out with the details because it's only a backdrop, but then just adding a little bit of grass didn't look right, so I ended up adding quite a lot of grass to it, but it looks quite nice now, so I'm happy with that. And also similarly over here I also added some of the backstage, and I added a couple of cars just so you can see that yes, this is part of the car safari. And then that's it. That's all that I did for this episode, and that kind of wraps up the surrounding area of the zoo, all of the backdrops being in place. I did skip a couple of things, like the edge of the boat safari could use a little bit more foliage, but I don't want to go too much detail, especially since we're dealing with like the performance and stuff. I might add it at some point. Still just stamp around a bunch of trees, like just copy this over and stamp that around there. But yeah, we'll see about that next year. Then another thing that I considered doing was the cheetah habitat over here, but honestly as a backdrop it already looks fine. Like from over here, if you look at that way, like you can see the bus, you can see part of the plane. I probably want to move the bus, to be honest, so that you see more of the plane. Like moving the bus over there, but then again the bus does block out a lot of the habitat, which makes it nicer that we don't have to make that habitat. Maybe something like this where you can actually see part of the plane. But yeah, that is that's something that I might also do more of next year when we are tackling the Elephant Valley, which also includes some cheetah habitat stuff as well. So that brings me to next year. What's that gonna look like? Well, it's mainly just this big gaping gap over here, the Elephant Valley. It occurred to me that if I hadn't gone ahead and deleted everything in here, I would actually have a finished zoo at this point and could take a break. But no, I decided to force myself to do this, and now there's a hole that needs filling. So we are going to make the Elephant Valley. Now I'm actually really excited to do it because it's an awesome enclosure. But yeah, what does that include actually? So we've got the big elephant habitat over here that obviously needs doing, but that isn't everything. There's also going to be a brand new aviary on this side, which I have no idea how I'm going to make because the mesh is like super fine netting, which we can't really do in Planet Zoo, but we'll see how that ends up. And then over here is a brand new hyena enclosure, which is really cool. I can't wait for you guys to see that. I can't wait to build it and hope I get the effect across that it creates. And then there's also a lot of updates to the cheetah enclosures over here. It's got new fencing, some things have been moved around to make space for other things. For instance, this viewing area is going to move like over there or something and be part of a new cheetah habitat. There's also going to be a number of changes to the Africa village. Like this thing is going to go away. There's going to be a bunch of playgrounds. The aviaries are going to move. This entire path is going to change for the new enclosure. And last but definitely not least is that this area is actually completely broken up at this point because they are building a new restaurant over here. So this playground that we put so much effort into is completely gone. All of these trees have been pretty much cut down. A new path has been created somewhere over here. The springbok habitat is completely changed. So that's also going to be a fun thing to update. So definitely got like 2 or maybe even 3 more episodes to go to do all of those different things. But I hope you'll be along for the ride next year because yeah, I do hope that within like 3 to 6 months we will be done, and that will be the done deal. The Beekse Bergen will be finished and on the workshop for all of you who are actually capable of loading into it to enjoy. And as far as the restaurant goes, that's still under construction. I'll include it if it's finished before I'm finished. If I finish the Planet Zoo recreation first, then I won't include it. If they finish the restaurant first, I'll include it. And probably if I finish first and then in a couple of months the restaurant's finished, I'll probably do a little update and include it as well if I feel like it. But we'll see about that when the time comes to it. So that'll be all. I hope you look forward to next year. I already put out a little Christmas card. Here's to a productive 2024. I was mostly wishing myself that, but of course I wish the same to all of you. But yeah, I hope I have a productive 2024 in which I can make nice progress on the Beekse Bergen and finally finish it and finish this chapter of the channel and move on to some other cool projects. I've got a lot of cool stuff cooking up already and I can't wait for you guys to see it. So I'm just rambling about the future and and stuff, so I'm just gonna finish it off here and see you all in the next video. See you next year. Oh god, that's the cringy joke that everyone makes, but it is true. So see you around. Bye bye.